I wanted to ask this, that you mentioned earlier that last year there were 99 people, 99% of the population investing. Now there's 98. For those 1% that entered when it was relatively higher, or for those who have not experienced the volatility, what's going through your head every time you see Bitcoin drop massively? And I guess the reason why I'm asking this also is, any words of advice for people that bought it and now they're not in a position where they want to be? What would you be doing?
The question is, are you an investor or are you a trader? And most people shouldn't be traders. If you're a trader, that's 1% of the population, then you can trade it. But Warren Buffett is the most famous investor of his generation. He said the optimal holding period for an investment is forever.
Yeah.
That's one. I mean, forever. He still owns Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was a big company when I was in high school. Amazon dropped 95% from its peak. Okay, if you had sold it, you would have lost. I think from there it went up by a factor of 200 or 300. The point is, just wait. Don't do something. Do nothing. Wait. If you bought Apple 30 years ago, give me the day when you should have sold it. Never. If you bought Amazon in the last 40 years, when should you have sold it? Never. The richest people in the world, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, what did they do? Nothing. They didn't do any. What they did is they didn't sell, right? The reason that Jeff Bezos is rich is because he didn't sell Amazon. The reason that Warren Buffett is rich is because he didn't sell. So there's only two challenges. One challenge is pick the right asset. You either have to buy it or create it. Okay, so is Bitcoin the right asset? It's the dominant digital property network on Earth. 150 million other people think it is. It's 50 times bigger than the next like-kind thing.
Yep.
Pick the right asset, buy it, wait, and stop looking at the paper every day. If you stare at the price of something every week, you're going to give yourself a lot more anxiety than if you look at it once a year. If you look at it every day, you're going to have more down days than if you don't. If you look at it every hour, you're going to give more anxiety. You can look at it every minute. You can look at it every second. It's just like anything. If I take a microscope and I zoom into your face and I zoom in by a factor of 10,000, I'm going to find a blemish, right?
Yeah.
If I just keep looking. So I think that some people sabotage themselves. They're actually caught up by the Twitter, the Twitter world. Is like every second of the day, I'm looking for some information to give myself anxiety. 99.99% of the information is noise. It's not news. It's technology. Think of it like Apple Computer. If you had bought Apple Computer in the year 2000, would you tell yourself, go back and check the newspaper every day and figure out whether you should sell it? You know, it's just a very simple idea. Stop looking and stop getting concerned about it. Successful businesses and successful business people and successful investors, they're successful because they have conviction. If you don't actually know that Bitcoin is digital property, if you're not sure that it's the right solution, then spend 1,000 hours studying it. If you go to hope.com, we've got courses on Bitcoin, we've got lectures on Bitcoin, we've got books on Bitcoin, we've got books on everything else. Spend 100 hours, 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours until you figure out whether or not it is or isn't the right thing. If you're building a building 200 years ago, you built it with masonry, with brick, and it couldn't be more than 6 stories. And then at some point we could use iron and we could get it up to about 10 stories. And then we discovered steel. And when we started building buildings with steel, they became 100 stories. And if you actually do the right work with steel and you paint it, maintain it, it'll last 100 years. If you actually figured out steel and you were an engineer, would you go back to the building every week and ask the question, should I unbuild the building and build it of brick again? Is the building going to fall? Or would you actually figure out that steel works and keep using steel? Or would you actually change it and make it iron or make it clay or make it stone? It's like if you're an engineer, there's an answer.
Yep.
There's an engineering answer. Figure out the answer. You should build your buildings in steel. You should build your planes in aluminum, right? And Bitcoin is an answer. If you want to store property for 100 years, it's the answer. Put your money in it. Wait, that's the solution to the problem. If you don't know it's the solution to the problem, study it. But here's how you get yourself in trouble. I spent 2 hours. My friend told me I should buy it. I don't know why I should buy it. I don't know if it's steel or it's balsa wood or it's clay. So I just kind of did it. And then I read a piece of news story and I got worried. And so I sold it. And now I lost some money. I'm angry. It's like, you're not really ready to make a decision with your life. You should make the decision based on study and careful consideration of it. So I guess my other point on this is if you're thinking you're buying it so you make money in the next 3 months, you shouldn't buy it. You should have like a 4-year time frame. I don't think anybody's ever lost money holding Bitcoin 4 years. But you can lose money buying anything in a day, right? And I really think the Bitcoin is the ideal thing to buy if you want to hold your money for a decade to 100 years. It's property, it's generational wealth. So take money that you want to invest for more than a decade and buy Bitcoin. If you bought a piece of land in California, you wouldn't keep getting a price quote on it every minute. If you actually went to everybody in the world and asked them if they would buy your land from you at a price higher than the price that you paid for the land, on Saturday night while you're drunk, you might find someone that offered you half as much for the land or for your house. And then you would say, oh no, my house lost half its value. And you would be so upset. It's because you're poking the world to give you anxiety. And that's what Bitcoin is sometimes. It's like someone on Saturday night is bidding less for it than what you paid for it. What you ought to do is just turn off the phone and think, I bought it because I wanted to hold it forever.
You gave a context of Bitcoin being a store of value or a digital gold. Do you ever see a point in somewhere in the future that we would see a lot of real world transactions using Bitcoin really as cash?
Well, the way it works is you're going to see digital currencies like the US dollar and the euro and the yen. They're going to circulate as stable coins or as CBDCs on the layer 2 at the speed of light. And then Bitcoin is an asset or its property. It's going to sit at the layer 1 and it's not going to circulate that fast. Like if Bitcoin's going up at 20% a year and if cash is losing its value or currency is losing its value at 20% a year, why would you want to sell the thing going up in price to buy something going down in price? You see? So I think that the real architecture here is 8 billion people on the planet holding a mobile device with a digital wallet that holds digital currency and a digital asset. And Bitcoin is the asset, it's the property. It's going up in value. The currencies are going to be the dollar, the euro, the yen. They're going to be the strong currencies. The weak currencies, like Venezuelan currency, Nigerian currency, Zimbabwe currency, any currency, and Lebanese currency, Syrian currency, these currencies are collapsing. So what's happening is people want to replace those weak currencies with the strong currency. In Argentina, they would definitely swap out the peso for the dollar if they could. Only about 10 strong currencies in the world. And most of them are pegged to the dollar. Like the Chinese yuan is even pegged to the dollar. So what we're really going to see is the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, and that's going to go to 5 billion people on digital rails. And then the Bitcoin is the world's reserve asset. And, sometimes people imagine paying sats for things. The only place you would ever use that is, well, I just don't think it's ever going to happen, to tell you the truth, because I think that even if the country collapses, When the government loses its currency, like in El Salvador after their civil war, they collapsed and they dollarized.